You're listening to Where You Live with Gene and Tony.
Welcome back to Where You Live with Gene and Tony. In our last segment here, we're talking about the state of Nevada, which thought it was important and prudent to be able to say to homeowner associations, hey, when it comes to getting reimbursed for for collecting on debt from homeowners that owe the association, there ought to be a ceiling, because anything above a certain amount would be just unfair. And Tony, right before the break here, you were making a great point. Make that again too, about what this does to the homeowners who are in that association and who are good folks and are paying.
Well, you know, so often people outside the situation empathize first with the individual homeowner. And I think that would be a very human way to react. Hey,
sure it is, yeah.
Owners, they're struggling. They got behind on their assessment, and now the evil homeowners association is coming after them with collection agents or attorneys, and not only charging them fees, but threatening them with foreclosure.
Is it, on a side note, isn't that part of the conversation that is just too quick for people to go to? You talk about the evil homeowners association. Everybody today, when someone disagrees with them on their process, procedure, or whatever, they're quick to want to just paint someone as evil and awful.
Yeah, and you need to understand the full picture. That evil homeowners association is actually all of the neighbors, all of your neighbors in your neighborhood, and they are the ones who are suffering when an individual owner doesn't pay their dues. So now this legislation is saying that there needs to be a limit on how much collection fees or attorney's fees the association can recoup.
Yeah.
That's a homeowner. And I'm afraid what that will mean is that there are some associations then, if they're limited to $1,950 in collection costs, they won't be able to afford to use an attorney or a collection agency to try and get after these deadbeat homeowners who aren't paying their dues.
I think that's a great point. I think that would be one of my main concerns too. I don't like the idea of someone capping and saying this is all that is fair for someone to make. Who gives someone the right to make that determination? Every situation is different. In a homeowners association, there are some people, if they've traveled out of state, finding them and trying to proceed may cost more than someone who is in town. And
that's right. Or if you have to take more legal steps, if you have to garnish wages, if you have to look for other assets. And again, I want to emphasize that this is for the benefit of all the owners in the homeowners association. In this article, Prim's Root said they gave the homeowners association management and collection industry everything they asked for. Well, no, they're giving homeowners what they need.
Yeah. I just can't imagine what this would do. I'm glad that this is not a part of the conversation here at the Minnesota State Legislature.
But there have been other issues raised with the Minnesota State Legislature that did not benefit. They thought they were benefiting owners of condo and townhomes, but they weren't.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What comes to mind is the whole issue about solar panels and being able to install solar panels on the roof of your townhouse.
Mm-hmm.
The state legislature at first thought, why can't individual townhome owners have the right to put solar panels on their roofs? Well, they were educated then to understand that in some associations, the individual owner doesn't own that roof. They only own the inside of the unit, and the roof is owned by the entire neighborhood.
And you're right. And then you have to think about the future, the unintended consequences. Now you've put something up on the roof. Now there's some damage. Who's now responsible for that?
A lot of association documents say that if you allow that kind of variance or that kind of architectural change, the association then becomes responsible to maintain it.
Mm-hmm.
They can't even hold the owner responsible to maintain it in some of the
and this whole thing with collection, it's kind of circular anyway. If someone says to the to someone, you're going to buy a foreclosed unit, and you're right, you shouldn't have to pay more than $1,950 of fees in terms of to pay for collection fees to get your property. Guess what? After they've done that, they are now a part of the homeowner association, and the next person that can only get $1,950 worth of fees paid, but the association paid $3,500. That extra burden now is going to go on you, Mr. Foreclosure Specialist.
You're now one of the homeowners that has to pick up the slack.
Exactly. And so it's a never-ending circle. And to me, it seems to make a lot more sense to place it on the unit that is involved with.
The unit that caused the problem. That's right.
We seem to be able to do that, and I don't know why that is a hard thing for folks to realize, because we do it for taxes. There's we do it for the water bill.
That's true.
A person who doesn't have their taxes paid doesn't go back to the association and say, well, I guess everybody's got to pitch in for this person's taxes. I don't hear these foreclosure investors saying, wait a minute, we shouldn't have to pay these things too. But to me, it is just completely out of place.
You make a great point.
Yeah, and then I think also too, like you said, to be able to, one of the other unintended consequences of something like this, Tony, is I think if you start putting a ceiling, you're going to find other companies, reputable companies, who are going to say that handle collections and know how to do this well, are going to say, I can't make money anymore. I'm going to have to close my door and do something else. And now the homeowner association doesn't have an experienced professional helping them. They're on their own, and I think they'll be in worse shape in terms of trying to collect.
I think so too. I mean, real estate is a highly regulated industry, but so is debt collection. It's highly regulated by our government, and you don't just let anybody jump in there and start mucking around. You need professionals.
Oh yeah, and I just want to. And the other thing that I just wonder what these legislators are thinking about is this is such a small industry in comparison to, let's say, I don't know, the credit card industry. Do you know of any legislature that has said we're going to cap and have a ceiling on what they can add in terms of punitive fees? To try and collect money? They can do everything that they can, plus ruin your credit,
That's a very good point, and we are all affected by that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's just our thoughts on that today. Man, I just hope we've got better sense here in Minnesota than the legislators in Nevada. Yeah. Well, we're going to be, looks like we're running out of time here today. Man, what a great show.
Yes, it was. We covered a lot of territory.
A lot of territory in 2 hours. And, of course, we'll be back next week with a lot more topics and a lot more territory to cover. That's right. But until then, we hope that you all have a great rest of the weekend, everybody. And we'll see you next week right here on Where You Live with Gene and Tony on AM 1280, The Patriot.